Hello, I'm going to assemble carburetor for KTM 525. The carburetor is Keihin FCR MX 39. I also have another carburetor model 41, so this 41 is millimeters of this throttle, I guess. These carburetors are very similar, but also we have some differences. We have a hot start on this one, but not on this one. We don't have here a throttle position sensor, but we have it on this one. This carburetor has bolts or screws from the top of this part. This one has internal screws to attach this middle part. This carburetor assembles from three parts. We have top part, middle part, bottom part. It goes like this. It is a mechanical carburetor. It has no diaphragm for constant velocity parts because it's not a constant velocity carburetor. It has this part that slides up and down, and your throttle is connected directly to it. First of all, I need to attach this middle part. I did not clean everything. It has some sealant material left on. I'm not going to add any more sealant now. So these internal gaskets are different. As you can see, we have very similar, but some features are a bit different. This part is different, and this part is connected in different spot. The old gasket goes into its place, of course, and I can assemble these two parts. But before doing it, I have this extra part that it goes like this, but I need some extra gasket. It goes on like this. This one goes together from the bottom side as opposed to 41mm one accelerator pump assembly. So it works like this. We have this spring loaded thingy. It is pushed by throttle, like this throttle cable goes right here, and it is pushed by this part as soon as you twist the throttle. And this part pushes down this rod, and this rod pumps fuel, and fuel is squirted through this nozzle directly on the engine valves. It has this extra fuel, just like you twist the throttle. I've got these upgraded parts to make this accelerator pump work a bit aggressive, I guess. I need to change the spring, and later on there is another spring on the pump itself, and our pump is made of this diaphragm, and when it is pressed by the rod, it just pushes fuel. So it goes like this. The new spring is stiffer, as I can see. Oh yeah, it is much stiffer. Much stiffer. There is yet another spring that goes inside first. It is different when the spring on the accelerator pump, because you can see it's wounded in the different direction. It has something like a slot here, and now I am attaching this accelerator pump with its own spring. I have it in. And now I will lock it with a washer and with C-clip or E-clip. Okay, now it is locked in. So this mod with stiffer spring should work instead of mod when you are locking these two parts with an O-ring. I guess when you are pressing on this rod, if you are pressing fast and hard enough, this loose spring just separates, and this stiffer spring is going to make a more powerful squirt of fuel. So I'm adding this rod in, and it must lock with this plastic part. I will add a little bit of heat to this plastic before. I can hold this like this, and now I am adding this big return spring that goes in right here, and it must tension on this part, this cutout part. Just some random grease, nothing fancy. Only thing that concerns me is rusting. We have this blue plastic part inside, like a cam, and this cam must be able to push accelerator pump in there. So I found one possibility to assemble it the wrong way, so you can lock these two things together, but you need to make that everything moves smoothly. So you can see throttle opens and accelerator pump engages. I'm using this stock idle speed screw. It goes in here, and to set it we must turn this for a little bit, and this idle speed screw goes against the part, so now we can set our idle speed. Now I will install this slide and the needle goes inside. I'm not talking in this video about how to set clip positions and choose jet sizes. I'm just using stock positions from my manual. Needle goes in like this, and it is held in place by the screw. Must add this second part. It has a gasket on it, and this gasket goes inside of this cutout. And one important thing, you shouldn't put it like this, like these two shapes look similar, but you should reverse it and put it like this. And now you can see it squashes a bit, so it is held against carburetor body. It's only one way that the needle can go in. In order to install this part, I need to pull this part again, so I can just press on this accelerator pump, twist it back a bit, and I only need this first like bearing to unlock. Now there are two washers. One washer is made of PTFE or some similar material. It needs to go in first, And another washer is made of aluminum. It goes in second. Now I can install this part. Okay, so this big spring locks into place. I'm holding accelerator pump in, and it must go over this screw for idle. I have idle, I have all the springs locked in, everything is working, and I also have this part. This is working like this. I will add a screw here, and to add it I am removing a slide. Now I can add the screw. I can it locks in place by this accelerator pump. I guess it might be a future feature because it's not possible to lock it in this place with this lid on, so I can lift it and unlock it by this accelerator pump. Very interesting. Okay, it is in, but it is in the wrong way. I am going to lock it again. Okay, just lock it by accelerator pump. Slide this slide. And now you can see there are these grooves for these little wheels to go in like this. And everything goes back and I unlock this whole mechanism. In my case, the needle is not perfectly in, so I must adjust its position. I'm unlocking this accelerator pump, and I can install the stop cover, of course, with a gasket. We have only 3 circuits here: needle, emulsion tube, and a jet that goes on. Needle closes with jet. And this is the main circuit, so when you are giving more than a little bit of the throttle, you either use fuel that is metered by the needle, or you just go all out and you are using the size of this jet to pour fuel in. Needle is guided by this whole mechanism, and this jet is closed when the needle is down, and when you are taking it at least a little bit up, it supplies some fuel into this venturi. These are brass parts. Just not over tighten it. It goes together like this. Let's test it. So it's totally closed when the needle is down. And now, to make it really work, one thing I forgot is to add this plastic cover. It's basically here because of fuel splashing when you are riding. So I will install it in seconds. As you can see, the needle is biased on the one side. I don't believe it's a problem, but let me know. So this one goes in. You are not squashing the plastic when tightening it, it's just like wiggles around. So the needle, emulsion tube, and the main jet is in. And what to do when you want to have idle, because you saw when I close this throttle, no fuel flows from the main jet. So you have this pilot jet or idle jet. It has its little emulsion tube on it, so it's like one unit. It goes in right here. And you can see we have this channel, we have this hole right here, and this channel is controlled by your idle screw. So either you have the stock idle screw, but it's just a short screw you need to get your screwdriver inside, or I have this remote fuel screw that I can install it like this and put it somewhere in a more reachable position. It basically just adds or removes the fuel from the idle circuit. And the last position, the smallest jet of these three, is this starter jet. So starter jet is used when you open the choke. So it's not used on normal operation of the engine, but when you're starting the cold engine and open the choke, you are getting some additional fuel from this jet. So 3 jets for powering the engine, and this one is the valve that you get the fuel into the bowl, into this whole system. And it is closed by this needle. It sits here. It has also a fuel filter, not a filter but a fuel mesh. So you can just take it out and clean this mesh, but I didn't manage to do it. It was a bit stuck inside, so I just blowed it with my air compressor and cleaned it with all the stuff I have. Fuel inlet, and it has 3 gaskets on this model, 3 O-rings, and my O-rings were bad, so I'm going to replace these and later on install this fuel inlet, and it goes through this mesh, and it is opened or closed by the floats in the carburetor. Floats, you have a couple of these. These are just empty shells made from plastic, and you must check if you don't have any petrol inside. Mine are fine. So the most important adjustment on the carburetor is the floats height, and you can see on this needle there is the spring-loaded thingy right here, so it must be working, and this part must not be worn. So this needle has this wire loop, and this loop goes into this thingy on the float, and this metal thing can be bent to adjust the height of the floats. So I'm just dropping everything in, and I have this metal rod that locks everything into place. I have my floats in, and these are really in. Now how to adjust them. So floats are in, but now we must measure it. So floats can be outside, in this position where you have your bowl on the bottom, and we suggest letting all the fuel in, needle is open. And if you turn it around, they just drops inside the carb. So this would be, well, the position when your motorcycle is upside down. And as you can see, I showed you earlier this little needle and this thing that is pressable on the needle, and it's now fully depressed. So we must enter this intermediate position when we can see it's not like hanging like this, and it's not depressed, this small thing. And now this is the position to measure the float height, and it must be 8 millimeters from the surface. So it goes like this. I set my caliper at 8 millimeters, and I am measuring the height, and as you can see, it matches the top part with 8 millimeters. So I believe I am good. Now the bottom bottle. I will use this aftermarket one from R&D. It just looks cool. It's a bit smaller. It boasts some improvements on this pump. And it has this part cut out, as you can see, for cable to adjust the idle speed. So I don't have to assemble everything, install the cable, and when I want to take this part off, I can just leave this like mixture screw in place. I don't have to take it out. I added the gasket, the old one, and I can assemble everything into one piece. This bottom screw can be used to change the main jet, and accelerator pump rod goes in here to push this diaphragm of the pump. And as you can see, we have this cutout for fuel mixture screw that goes like this. This idle screw attaches like this. Mixture screw, it goes from here, and it has its designed place to go on this corner. The next thing, I added these small tubes, venting tubes. I bought a set of new ones, but I think the better way is to just make these yourself, because it's very overpriced, and I didn't look at the price before ordering them. I added these clips like this, and now I can route these tubes. We have this accelerator pump right here. It has 3 of the channels for fuel, held with gaskets. This diaphragm that I reused from previous pump, it has a slip on the side, so it goes like this. This metal thing contacts with this push rod. So before putting this cap on, we need to put the spring in. We have old spring and the new one. New spring, it's a bit stiffer, and it sits in this part. Okay. Now I have this extra adjustment screw for the fuel pump. So this screw, mixture screw that is routed outside, idle screw. Now the choke goes in. Lastly, I must add this throttle position sensor right here, but I will do it a bit later. And that's it. That's the assembly of FCR MX 39mm carburetor.